time, we're going to do a little photo op down in front, and then we'll come back up here for questions from everybody in the room. So let's do the photo op. Take your hat, Ashley. Right? Okay. Everybody good? Okay, all right, leave the hats on. Okay, questions. I know the media will be setting up some one-on-ones, but we certainly would love to have some questions from our campus community as well as faculty, staff, or anybody else that's here. Yes?
Coach Mike, could you share with us a little bit of your philosophy as far as your offensive scheme, defensive scheme, and what you're going to try to do here?
Yeah, not to give out too early of a scouting report. You know, guys have 2 years to get ready for us, and I hope they need every minute of it. You know, my philosophy is going to be focused on the players. So our program is going to be built around their experience, their growth, their influence on UNE, and UNE's influence on them. They're coming for a full college experience, not just to play football, and that's going to be something we talk about from the single moment they arrive here. You know, and then it's about academics, athletics, and community service, or service in general. That's kind of what we're going to be founded on. To talk about offense and defense and all that stuff, it's a little premature, but you can probably get a pretty good picture if you look at my background and what we've done. And you know, I've had some unbelievable influences in terms of guys who have place in the game of football. University of New Hampshire is my lifeblood, and I take a lot of what we're going to do from Coach Mack and all the assistants that have been with him for so long and where they are now. It's a special group to be a member of, and I consider myself part of his coaching tree, so that might be a good place to start.
Coaches, do you find it more advantageous or more challenging to build a fledgling program, and why?
Go ahead.
We've already built a really good base of rugby in the club program on the women's rugby side of things, and you know, to be taking this step into the varsity level very quickly is going to be a little bit challenging because of some of the names that we're going to have to compete against, including my alma mater, Norwich, colleges like Dartmouth and Harvard. But I think that bringing this to the varsity level and saying that rugby is going to be a serious sport, that we are going to have practices every day, that the expectation is going to be high, is going to be what's going to build this program even bigger and better than it is currently.
You know, there's a lot to work on, obviously, and I started thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I've already filled up a couple notepads. But everything from equipment to staff to getting players here in uniform to travel schedules, that's stuff that we are used to handling. I just have to do it for the first time ever, and it's an exciting challenge. You know, it's something that's going to keep me up long nights, but that's why we do the job, and that's the exciting part about it. Being totally invested in it is what's going to make it special.
Right?
It's for you, Jack. I mean, the timetable here going forward for these two programs, and rugby starting in the spring, football is going to start with facilities and stuff. Can you talk about that? How it's going for the university?
Rugby will begin this fall in September. We're sort of hopefully going to wrap around some Parents' Weekend or alumni events around that. But we're already, just yesterday, John and I met, we're talking about, we've established the square footage needed to, you know, there's not an empty room in this building right now that house, you know, 100 football players, 30 or 40 women's rugby. So we have a plan in place for some expansion. We have other phases of this yet to come, but we'll see how all that goes. The football schedule is sort of set. We know that in 2017 we'll play a sub-varsity, a few games. We've established relationships with many of our CCC, many of our main neighbors who would like to play a sub-varsity season as Mike sort of develops the program. In women's rugby, we belong to the National Collegiate Women's Varsity Rugby Association, which is established, and you know, I know Ashley and the team will do a great job being competitive. It's about almost 20 schools now. It's an emerging sport for women in the NCAA, with some outstanding athletic and academic institutions who will be visiting this campus for the first time ever. So I think all in all, things are in really good shape. In the fall of 2018, as a member of the CCC, we'll have 6 games already. They're already scheduled. We've established a 2-year arrangement with Coast Guard that was extended to a 4-year arrangement at the NCAA convention a couple of weeks ago. We've established a 4-year arrangement with Husson University. So Mike and I will be working on, we have 2 non-conference games left to fill, and we're already getting calls.
I'm looking at the big blue chart.
Well, yes, it'll certainly be blue, and we got to make sure that that's getting ready for a new surface anyway. So there's a lot of discussions that we're still early on that point, but I'm sure by the fall of, we're hoping that by the fall of 17 we will have everything we need to have a first-class rugby and football venue, along with the same kind of venues for the rest of our sports.
Hey, Mike, how do you go about starting, being 2 years out, how do you go about starting getting a staff together, and what's the challenges of that?
Yeah, I've been doing this a little while now, so I've come across some guys that I've really learned to trust, and some of them might be with me now, and some of them might be elsewhere. But every coach has his short list. He gets his dream job, which I feel like I just did, and he calls those guys first thing. I've already actually had a few conversations with some important people, and those kind of gears are already turning. But like I said on my interview, and I'll say it every day, it's more important to have guys that I really trust more than anything. And you can always learn more about football, but you really got to be able to trust the guys that are around you about the way they handle the kids and coach the game and represent the college everywhere they go. We recruit on a national level. No matter where we go, we are UNE representatives, and we got to make sure we have the right guys in those roles. And building the staff is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. A lot of energy will be brought into this place as I'm a young guy, and they'll follow suit. But we're looking to make this place proud every single day that we're here.
One of the things Mike said in his interview that I'll never forget, he says, if it's done right, which it will be, football enhances everything it touches. I thought that was a really, really nice thing he said.
Go back to clarify something, Jack. So there is a possibility that there would be another playing surface for football besides the existing.
Everybody in athletics, we always want more. You're never satisfied. That's part of athletics. Even if you're on the right track, if you just stand there, you'll get run over. So I think that yes, we would like to have it. We need it. We have obviously certain sports have certain surface requirements as well. So yes, that's part of the plan. But there's still a ways to go. Right now, our goal is to make sure that the locker rooms, the offices, the weight room, training room, equipment room can adequately provide all of our athletic department, what's necessary.
Talking about recruiting, obviously, what's your philosophy going to be? There's a lot of good talented programs around here. You're going to build relationships with the local coaches to start.
Yeah, I sat down last night in my hotel room and made a list of every single school in Maine that plays football, and what class they're in, and where they finished this year. And then I started identifying who all the coaches were. Local ties are essential. This is Southern Maine's team. This is going to be tied into that community. They're going to support us, I hope, and we're going to support them. And the way you start by doing that is by building individual relationships. And first few days on the job is going to be about getting into Biddeford High School, getting into Thornton Academy, going all the way up to Brunswick and all those places. That's really important to me, and it's going to be very, very important to this program. I've already had a number of meetings with admissions. They recruit nationally. I'm going to start here, and then branch out as we get a little bit older and a little bit more involved in everything that we're doing. But I cannot stress enough how important Southern Maine High School football is going to be to this program.
How big will the opportunity to play freshmen right away and stuff like that with your program? How much does that help you recruit?
I think it can help you in a lot of ways. My philosophy on playing time or getting guys involved is the best player who's doing the right things gets to play. I don't care where you're from or how old you are or what your background is. If you're doing what you're supposed to do academically and in your social life and in the community, and you strive for excellence on the field, you'll play for me. And nowhere in there do you have to be 18 or 22 or anywhere in between. But the right people need to be at our foundation.
Ashley, can you talk a little bit about recruiting on the rugby side and how it might be different and what your approach will be?
Sure. So rugby in general is a much different animal than football or any other traditional sport that you see played across high schools in the United States. One of the things that we've been focusing on as a club sport has really been those crossover athletes, those students who've come and maybe, basketball wasn't the right fit for them or ice hockey wasn't the right fit for them, but they're still looking, excuse me, to be a part of a varsity program. And rugby, that's how I got my start in rugby personally, was I went over to Norwich to play ice hockey, was feeling pretty good about it, saw this rugby thing going on, nationally ranked team. I think I'd like to jump in on that. So the recruiting process for us is going to be much more about looking at athletes who maybe are not rugby players to begin with, and looking at athletes locally, going to watch local sports games, and seeing if there are athletes there that are potentially interested in rugby and giving it a shot and giving UNE a shot. There are some youth programs once you get down closer to Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. That area has a pretty good base of rugby, which I'm hoping to get to go see some this spring. But the pool of athletes coming or going to schools for rugby is still quite small, even at those powerhouse schools like Dartmouth and like Army and like AIC. They're still relying a lot on those crossover athletes or on athletes coming to campus interested in rugby. So a lot of the recruiting process is still going to be on campus, which is going to be a little bit of a struggle, but it's also kind of exciting that you get athletes ready to try something brand new and they're fully into it.
This question is for Jack and Ashley. Jack, what does it mean to the university to hire a coach that came from the town that your university is in? And Ashley, what does it mean to you to be a head coach in a town where you grow up and be kind of a role model for young girls in sports here?
I think it's a thrill. Biddeford is is a college town. It's very important to us. I was at the Rotary meeting yesterday. We're talking about it. People were ecstatic. So I think to have one of our homegrown student athletes here now coach, I think to be able to say Biddeford, Maine in our press release is only going to get more and more of the residents of Biddeford interested. As you know, many know about us and many don't. So I think it's only going to enhance the relationship. We want to be as best a neighbor as we can to Biddeford. I've talked to Jeremy Ray, the superintendent, yesterday. I think I owe him a few draft picks, but having Ashley be not only from Biddeford but an educator, coaching many sports. I mean, really, she was the perfect candidate, as was Mike.
I love Biddeford. I love rugby, and the fact that the two can be a part of one another is just absolutely fantastic. And I'm an advocate for a lot of things Biddeford, now an advocate for many, many things UNE, and one of the things that I hope to do that I've already done a little bit of is really trying to bridge that gap between UNE and the Biddeford community. And rugby is a sport that still you talk about it and people say things like, what is that? Oh, you wear a mouth guard. Excellent. Great. So, one of the things that we did this past fall, for instance, was we went to the Biddeford homecoming football game, and we held rugby demonstrations with, tackling techniques and that sort of thing. And I think that being a part of the community and now being a part of the UNE community and being able to help bring those two together and being able to help bridge athletes together as well, female athletes from grades K all the way up through college, is going to be a really exciting part of this position.
I came to UNE for the marine biology program and the location. I grew up on the ocean, boating and fishing and scuba diving, and now I just really feel like I'm tied to the coast. I love the ocean because it feels so unexplored. I dive a lot with the scuba club, and in class we're on the water every week. My career goals are to lead hands-on research, discovering new things like sustainable fishing methods. And UNE is giving me the experience to do that.